My mother wanted me to cancel my wedding to avoid hurting my sister, who was abandoned before hers. I refused and didn't invite them. I'm a 30-year-old woman, correct? And I've been quite excited because I'm arranging my wedding with my boyfriend, who is now my fiancé. We've been preparing this big day for almost a year, and we wanted to make sure we had everything booked well ahead of time. Why? Because we chose a specific date in December for our wedding, and it falls right in the heart of the Christmas season, when everything gets really hectic. Here's where things become tough. My mother isn't exactly delighted with my wedding preparations. Why? My sister was set to marry a few months ago, but her fiancé abandoned her right before the altar, which is kind of terrible. Yes, there was a massive mess, and she was really upset. My mother believes that holding a wedding so soon after the accident will be extremely difficult for my sister and may hurt her sentiments. First and foremost, my wedding isn't particularly fancy or extravagant. My fiancé and I prefer to keep things simple. We don't overspend on things we don't need. Our wedding is not too expensive. We're only inviting roughly 50 guests, including our closest friends and family. We are not throwing a big pre-wedding celebration or a wild bachelorette bash. It is simply just the wedding ceremony followed by a pleasant, modest meal. Another factor is that my fiancé and I planned our wedding long before my sister considered getting married again. We didn't make this decision on a whim. Everyone in the family, even my mother and sister, knew what we were going for in December. So we're not being insensitive or anything. But, for some reason, just as things appeared to be going smoothly, my mother and sister decided to make a huge issue about it. It's very frustrating because it appears that they're turning this pleasant occasion into a drama. My sister is 3 years older than I, and this would have been her second marriage. Her first relationship ended very calmly. They simply drifted apart after 2 years and chose to split. She has been single since then. So, last Christmas, just when everything was bright and merry, my fiancé proposed to me, and it was beautiful. We had planned a summer wedding, but my fiancé was assigned a short-term trip overseas, so we had to postpone our preparations until December. Since then, we've been planning it in stages. I hate to admit it, but I believe my sister hastened into a second marriage because of me. When we announced our wedding last year, she had only recently begun dating him. They hadn't planned a wedding yet, but I found out a few weeks later that they were getting married. It sounded odd to me, marrying someone after only a few months of knowing them. Out of concern, I asked her whether she was sure about this guy, because marriage is a major deal for me. She became defensive, claiming that not everyone is capable of developing a lasting relationship. It was a really snarky comment, but I let it go. She's never had a steady relationship. I believe the longest relationship she had lasted a year, with the man she married first and then divorced after 2 years. I'm not saying that a year isn't enough time to get to know your partner, but after a broken marriage, one should proceed with caution. She had only known this guy for about 5 or 6 months, but she was ready for another wedding. Anyway, that was her decision, and I respected it and did not intervene further. They had planned an intimate church wedding with only a few guests. I believe it was less than 20. There were just 3 persons from the groom's side on the guest list. He said that his parents resided in a foreign nation and would be unable to attend on such short notice. So, from his perspective, there were 2 buddies and 1 colleague. I believe it was his manager. Nevertheless, I am not certain. However, none of them, including the groom, attended the wedding. We remained waiting at the church. My sister and dad repeatedly called him, but he did not show up. Later, he texted her and said he couldn't marry her since he wasn't sure yet. My sister tried to calm him down and advised that they continue their relationship and then decide on marriage. But he ignored her. That dude was in his early 20s, less than 25. Again, I'm not generalizing, but you know how the early 20s are, especially for Generation Z. I don't think anyone wants to settle down at this age, especially after only a few months of dating. Since then, my sister has been bitter toward me. No, I did not do any of those "I told you so" things, but I believe she blames me for jeopardizing her plans. Being stood up at your wedding is the worst thing that can happen to anyone, and I consoled her afterwards. She requested to be left alone with her friends and mother. Except for her friends and her mother, I was the only other person in the room. It was amusing though, she might have just asked me to leave. I felt terrible about it, but I left without saying anything. I wasn't feeling well, but I recognized it must be humiliating for her, and she had no idea how to respond. I contacted her after a week to check on her, but she did not answer. I texted, but it was left unread, so I didn't bother again. A few months later, I met her at Mom's house. I asked her how she was doing, and she said, "Why are you treating me as if I'm destitute and abandoned by a man? I don't need a man. I'm happy and complete just being myself." I said, Sure, I was just checking on you. You see, I'm not making up these assumptions. She wasn't giving me cold shoulders after her wedding was put off. Last week, we sent out wedding invites. My sister called me. I assumed it was to congratulate me, or something. But she was like, "So, you're getting married in this outdoor venue?" I answered, "Yes." She said, "Cool," and then hung up. I was baffled until I received a call from my mother the following evening. She urged me to tone down the wedding since it was upsetting my sister. Toning down means canceling the venue and marrying at a church or at the registrar's office with 36 individuals on both sides. I informed her that we had been planning this for over a year and that she was well aware of the plan. So why would she suddenly have an issue with it? She said that it was because my sister had been standing up at the altar, and it would be inappropriate for me to have such a grandiose wedding within a few months. I told her that we had already paid for the majority of the wedding expenses, including the venue, food, and decorations. Not only had we paid the minimum booking amount, but nearly 60% of it. I tried to make her understand that modifying the plan would result in a tremendous loss. Canceling the venue would result in a significant financial loss for us. All booking fees for the venue, decorations, and caterers are non-refundable. Hearing me moan about the loss, she urged that I cancel the wedding. I was at a loss for words. How could she ask me to cancel the wedding? She stated, "Actually, that is the better way to respect your sister's feelings. She would have enough time to recover from her ordeal." She suggested we move our wedding to next summer. I informed her that we had already postponed it for work reasons and could not do it again. She tried to gaslight me by claiming that if I could do it for my fiancé, I should do it again for my sister if I loved her. This made my blood boil. I assured her that I was not going to cancel anything and that the wedding would proceed as scheduled. She hung up on me. I discussed this with my fiancé, and he believes my sister is overly distraught by her position. It must be difficult for her to believe that everything is okay for me while her life is a shambles. He stated it was fine if I wanted a low-key wedding. Discussing this with my fiancé has made things worse for me because I now believe he is more sympathetic to my sister. It makes me feel like a jerk for not considering her feelings. Until recently, I had thought my mother's request to cancel or modify the wedding preparations was absurd. But now I'm questioning if I should do it. I do not know, guys. Have any of you been in a similar situation? I'd love to have a new take on this. Update 1. Hello everyone, and thank you for participating with me in the comments. It was quite helpful to me. One of the comments, probably many of you, suggested that my mother is narcissistic for asking me to adjust my wedding plans simply because it will harm my sister. I understand you are correct. It was quite cruel. I'm not doing anything to injure my sister. If she truly loved me, she would not feel this way. There's no other way to phrase it. She's wounded because she's jealous of me. That is it. And it is not my problem at all. Some of you inquired about my family dynamics, namely whether my mother has always been as apathetic to me and my sister has always been narcissistic. So, the answer is no. Growing up, I never felt that my mother was biased toward my sister. Obviously, every parent has a favorite child unconsciously, but she never made it clear. Yeah, I used to grumble that mom liked my sister more, but she was never harsh or evil toward me. My sister and I had a fairly regular sibling bond in our early days. However, during our adolescence, we grew apart. It wasn't due to fighting or anything like that, we simply matured into completely different people. She was more homely and spent time with mom and our aunts, making small chat. I was never interested in any of that. Instead of spending time with family members, I concentrated on my schoolwork, applying for scholarships, and socializing with friends. I also moved out really early. When I was 18, I enrolled at a college far from home, and I've been living alone ever since. Meanwhile, my sister lived with my parents until she turned 25. She only moved out once she married her first spouse. Even yet, her husband's house was only a few miles away, so she spent every other weekend at mom's place. Dad died 5 years ago, and since then, my sister has moved back in with mom. So, yes, they have spent a lot more time together than I have. Naturally, their link is stronger than the one I have with my mother. Nothing much has happened since my last post. Actually, I'm avoiding any talks with them. I'm not going to visit or call them. My fiancé inquired whether I was contemplating my mother's plea to postpone the wedding. I said no. The wedding would go as planned. I'll provide an update if anything changes. Update 2. I hate to admit it, but my sister is a true narcissist, and mom has been supporting her evilness. So, my mother invited my fiancé and myself out to supper. I didn't feel very well about it. Before that invitation, she contacted me to inquire about the wedding preparations. When I gave her updates, I got the impression she wasn't even interested. It was more like, "Are you still doing that?" Then she interrupted me and asked, "Why don't you come home? We can sit and discuss." I was perplexed by the entire sit and talk thing, but she explained that she only meant a general catch-up. I refused to go since I didn't like how she treated me. But last week, she called my fiancé to formally ask us to supper. He asked if she had a special event or anything she wanted to discuss. But she replied there was nothing special, she just wanted to serve us some home-cooked meals. He couldn't refuse, so we had to comply. Before traveling there, I informed my fiancé that if mom or my sister requested that we cancel the wedding, or even make any changes, he should refuse. My fiancé is a soft-spoken gentleman who is easily taken away by the emotions of others. I advised him not to give in to their demands or make any promises. If such a circumstance came, he should remain silent and I would handle it. We went there and, thankfully, my sister wasn't present. Everything was going well until mom began discussing her wedding, how she and dad married at a registrar's office, followed by a simple lunch with both of their parents. She went on to explain how the money helped them set up their home and take care of other crucial matters. Then mom tried to manipulate my fiancé by suggesting that we have a long life ahead of us and shouldn't spend money on the wedding. I informed mom that we had previously planned a very low-cost wedding relative to our means. We both make decent money, but we live a very basic lifestyle. She went on to remark that it is our family tradition to have an intimate wedding because we are humble people who do not believe in bragging. I was like, wait a minute. My sister's first wedding was more than intimate. It had almost 100 attendees. Mom defended it, claiming it was the family's first wedding and dad wanted it that way. That day, I discovered how wicked my mother was. She began sobbing, expressing her gratitude that dad was able to organize and see at least one of his daughter's weddings. She went on about how much she misses him at all family gatherings. My fiancé hugged mom to comfort her. I motioned for him not to be taken away by her weeping. He was a little annoyed by my stiffness. My mother almost convinced him, and he said, "Sure, yeah, we'll take care of it. You don't care about things like that." My sister stepped in just then, and oh my God, her bitterness knows no bounds. She rushed to console mom, telling her that she would always be there for her and that, unlike others, she would respect and follow her decisions. Her snark pushed my buttons so hard that I couldn't hold back. I informed her that I had done nothing wrong, but they were targeting me in such a way. This resulted in a full-blown quarrel between us. She stated I should have canceled my wedding because my sister was going through such a difficult time in life. She accused me of being insensitive because I did not even tone down the pomp and show. She was personally criticizing me, but I said nothing negative. I was simply defending myself. But when she remarked it was ridiculous to spend so much money on one event, I returned it to her. I answered, "Yes, it is just one event. However, it is the most important day of my life. And, unlike others, I intend to have it once in my life." She quickly realized I was referring to her 2 weddings. I understand, it was cruel and mean. But, Guy, I was over her personal insults. For months, they've been calling me selfish and pretentious. I'm done being the good and bigger guy. I'm just finished. Now, I enjoy being the devil. If they actually cared about my happiness, they would not be upset to see me marry. They're just jealous of me. Not to mention that my statement made the situation worse, and my fiancé had to intercede and drag me out of the house. While departing, I exclaimed that the wedding would go forward as scheduled, and if there was a problem, they could skip it. That happened yesterday, and I'm still seething as I write this update. I'll tell you, you can deal with all the injustices in the world, but narcissism from your own family is the most difficult to deal with. Update 3. Thank you, everyone, for your support. I apologize for the rambling in my last update. I was filled with rage and didn't know how to express it. But thank you to everyone who messaged me and commented. That actually calmed me down. Okay, I've got quite an update this time. I am getting married next week, and we are proceeding with our original intentions. That is the good part. A lot has transpired since my last post, but thankfully, I have not lost my resolve. After that severe, I'd call it, fight with my sister and, to a lesser extent, with my mother, I was experiencing a range of emotions, from rage to heartbreak. I didn't communicate with my fiancé for a few days since I wasn't in a state to have a sensible conversation. He intended to make me see something, but all I could think about was how my sister couldn't take seeing me happy, and mom was side with her, completely ignoring my sentiments. My fiancé talked me through it after my fury faded. He proposed that we change the setting to a church and cut down on our family. He believed that my sister was most concerned about the extended family attending the wedding and discussing her shame at the altar. I was compelled to reduce the number of relatives because I was not particularly close to my aunts and uncles. But I truly wanted the venue. Meanwhile, I contacted my cousin, who, to be honest, is more of a gossip monger. I called her to see if my sister had spoken anything about the fight. And indeed, she did. My sister had spread rumors about me everywhere. She claimed that I humiliated and insulted her for her broken relationships. She absolutely exaggerated the entire story. Even if it was only my sister, I could understand. But my mother had also joined her side and had been disparaging me, calling me insensitive and arrogant. When I told my fiancé about this, he instantly got out of it. He was like, "Whatever you decide, I'm not getting into your family drama." So we're sticking with the original plan. A garden-themed wedding with 70 guests, as decided. My sister's narcissism is reaching new heights. She was sobbing in front of my aunts, telling them how insensitive I am and how I am hurting her sentiments by marrying in front of her. Now I don't understand her problem. I'm not marrying her fiancé or husband, why is she making such a fuss over it? I tried to console her. I urged her to feel happy for me. When this technique failed, she began encouraging everyone to boycott my wedding so that I may learn the importance of respecting the feelings of those close to me. When I found out about it, I emailed both of them and told them they were no longer invited to the wedding. I explained how they had been disparaging me and hurting my sentiments. I kept several important family members in the loop, including my godmother, aunt, and her husband, so that everyone knew my side of the tale. Following that email, I noticed the tables turning. I received multiple phone calls from various family members, including my godmother, assuring me that nothing was wrong. I have the right to have the wedding I want. Reservations were made months before, and everyone was aware of the arrangements well in advance. So what my mother and sister were doing was purely terrible. I have every right to exclude them from my wedding. My sister left me a lengthy voicemail, calling me a spoiled brat and arrogant for not respecting her feelings. She stated it was quite tough for her to move on. She had been abandoned by her fiancé during her wedding only a few months prior. Instead of comforting her, I was busy planning my own wedding and clawing her wounds. Then she cursed me. She predicted that I would face a similar fate, or worse. She claimed that my fiancé, or future husband, would leave me or cheat on me with other women. Only then, she explained, would I understand her anguish. All along, I had been supporting myself. I was firm about my decision. But hearing that crushed my heart. I couldn't believe my own sister could curse me like way, only a week before my wedding. The week leading up to the wedding is already an emotional roller coaster for any woman. And hearing this from my own older sister is the worst thing. People bless their siblings and children at weddings. But I am being cursed. I'm not sure what I did to earn this hate. My mother also replied to my email. She claimed she was disowning me. She advised me not to see her again since I didn't care about my family's feelings. This is how things stand so far. If anything more happens, I will provide an update on this topic. Otherwise, send me well wishes for the future. Update 4. Hello again, everyone. I'm here with another update on my wedding story. And what a whirlwind these past few weeks have been. I genuinely appreciate all of your help and guidance. It's been a huge support during these tough times. Following my last update, things took an unexpected turn. With the wedding just days away, my fiancé and I were determined to go ahead with our plans despite the constant family upheaval. Life, as they say, is what happens while you're busy making other plans. 2 days ago, my mother called me. I was afraid to respond, fearing additional requests or comments. But something in her speech took me off guard. It was remorse, which I had not heard from her in a long time. She asked if we might meet for coffee, just the two of us. Against my better judgment I consented, curious to hear what she had to say. We met in a quiet cafe, distant from the recollections of home. My mother, with tears in her eyes, handed me a letter. It came from my sister. In the letter, my sister admitted to being overcome by her own grief. She stated that her actions toward me were unjustified and motivated by her anguish. She apologized for the upheaval she caused and emphasized her desire for my happiness, even if she was still unable to attend the wedding. Then my mother spoke. She apologized for her involvement in everything. She revealed that her grief, over my sister's aborted wedding and the death of my father years before, had impaired her judgment. She told me she loved me and regretted asking me to cancel my wedding. While she couldn't change the past, she wanted to make amends and begged to be a part of my big day. I was stunned. The earnestness in their statements was evident, and it gave me something to think about. I spent the night discussing everything with my fiancé, who was supportive of any decision I made. After careful consideration, I decided to extend an olive branch. I called my sister and mother and told them they may attend the wedding if they felt like it. My sister, still overcome with grief, stated she wasn't prepared to attend. However, she thanked me and wished me a wonderful day. My mother, on the other hand, was grateful and vowed to respect our plans and support us on our special day. Everything is set for the wedding. We're sticking to our original plan, a garden-themed wedding for our closest friends and family. It feels good to move forward. Not only will we celebrate our love, but we will also take steps to mend our family. Thank you again for your words of support and wisdom. I'll make sure to keep you updated after the wedding, wishing us luck and bright skies. Update 5. Hello everyone, I'm back with what I think will be the most joyous update in this entire tale. Our wedding day has come and gone, and it was a celebration that not only represented the start of a new chapter with my husband, but also the mending of old scars in my family. Thank you all for your nice thoughts and useful advice along the process. Our wedding day began bright and clear, a wonderful December morning, with a sharp cold in the air, promising a lovely winter wedding. The garden site was converted into a magnificent setting with white and gold decorations, shimmering fairy lights draped around the trees, and brilliant winter flowers that provided a pop of color against the tranquil white backdrop. The wedding was small and intimate, attended by roughly 70 of our closest friends and family. As I walked down the aisle, my fiancé's face was filled with genuine love and excitement, which I will cherish for the rest of my life. Our vows were genuine and emotional, reflecting our journey together and the future we envisage. Throughout the exchange, there was hardly a dry eye. Even my usually reserved fiancé shed a few tears. Suddenly, midway through the reception, my mother took the microphone. My heart skipped a beat, expecting the reappearance of old frustrations. However, what followed was a genuine speech from her, in which she acknowledged previous mistakes and expressed her joy for us. She shared anecdotes from my childhood, which elicited gentle laughter from the audience. She ended by expressing how proud my father would have been to see this day. It was a significant healing experience for all of us. Later in the evening, the dance floor was open, and the atmosphere was charged with excitement. I danced with my mother, which I had not thought was possible a few months ago. We didn't say much, and we didn't need to. The dance conveyed it all. My friends and family mingled, danced, and celebrated, forming new happy memories. Although my sister was not present, her presence was felt through the beautiful bouquet she sent, along with a heartfelt message. I kept the flower near the family photos we exhibited to symbolize her role in the day. It was a heartbreaking reminder that healing takes time, and everyone's journey is unique. The reception offered a cozy, tasty winter-themed meal with comfort dishes that warmed everyone despite the cold weather. Our caterer did an excellent job presenting seasonal dishes, and the warm apple cider was a big success with the guests. As the evening came to a close, we launched lanterns into the sky, symbolizing the release of old grievances and the illumination of new aspirations and dreams. Watching them sail up into the starry sky, accompanied by cheers from our loved ones, was a magical way to close a wonderful day. Now, as we get back into our routine and think about our wedding, I'm filled with gratitude. This occasion was more than just the wedding of two people. It was about the reconciliation and healing of a family ripped apart by misunderstanding and pain. Moving forward, I wish to mend relationships and create a future filled with love and understanding. Thank you everyone again for your support and for keeping up with my posts. Your ideas and support have been a guiding light throughout difficult times, and I'm grateful for our group. As we travel on our honeymoon and future experiences, I carry not just my husband's affection, but also fresh relationships with my family. Here's to new beginnings, full of hope and excitement.